Hey, you guys, thanks for listening to this episode of Tips with T. On today, I have Mr. Ethan with us. Hey, Mr. Ethan, how are you today?
How you doing, T? I'm
I'm
doing great.
awesome. I'm,
Awesome.
it's good to have you on the show today. So, can you tell us more about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's great to be here. So I'm a coach and I'm the co-host of the Run With It podcast. The Run With It podcast helps bring new business ideas to our listeners from successful entrepreneurs. And right now in coaching, I'm focused on helping founding teams reach Fortune 500 dreams. That's my thing.
Awesome, awesome. So, very excited that you're on the show today. So, explain to us, since you are a coach, what are four things of growth and achievement that you teach your clients?
Okay, yes. So this is some themes that I think we spoke about earlier in the pre-interview. There's four things that I go return to with a lot of my coaching clients to set a strong foundation so that they can continue to grow and achieve. So the four pillars are we visit four topics, which is uh, yeah, and I'm forgetting them right now, of course. So highs, lows, wins, lessons learned. It's so funny I say this all the time. But highs are there so that we can recognize what's working, what makes us feel good, and continue to empower ourselves to get more of that. The lows is for us to make sure we recognize when things aren't working for us, and get rid of those things that are bringing us down. The wins is just to recognize that we're making progress, and so we can have the energy to move forward and know that things are happening. And the lessons learned is that we need to learn lessons. We need to actually make a note of the lessons that we learn. And a lot of people aren't really in the business of making an observation of that. And so when I'm coaching people, we make observations around what we've learned on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. It really helps with growth.
Awesome. So, what are some businesses that someone might can be interested in? Like, would you suggest to start right now during this time?
Yeah. And I think that part of the reason we talked about that previously, if anybody wants to check out the Run With It podcast, we did an event really at the beginning of the quarantine time called the Recession Proof Startup Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a bunch of different entrepreneurs on there. These are successful people who've made, $100,000 a day or sold a business for $170 million. Really smart business people. And we talked for several hours about what are good businesses to start during a time like this when things are uncertain. And first of all, just it's useful to remember now is a great time to start anything. We're in a time of transition.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in a time of transition, it's in a time of opportunity. And actually, the playing field gets leveled a lot when you're in a time of transition. All the things that used to work stop working. So the people who have felt comfortable and things have been working for them, they stop working. Now there's an opportunity to do new things. So just to give a handful of examples of what might be good businesses to start right now are businesses, for example, that help people save money. Well, that's something that we came up with in the Recession Proof Startup Saturday. Businesses that help people make money, right? So if you're in the business of helping people save money or help people make money, if you look in previous recessions, again, this is what we came up with on an event that we had. The businesses that have worked in previous recessions are the ones that revolve on either one of those things or even both of them. Good example would be eBay, right?
Mm-hmm.
eBay was a business that thrived during a recessionary period because, oh, how can I make some extra money selling some things at home that I don't need? And also, how can I save some money by procuring something used? So right now, I would say it's a great time to focus on those fundamentals of making money and saving money. And I mean, that's a good foundational thing for me to say. Uh, I'm curious if you have any issues that have come up for you that are different now that you're facing quarantine. And any new problems you've
Um,
encountered?
Basically now, what I'm trying to do is basically transition. to being virtual because like during this pandemic there social distancing, so trying to get the right platforms to use and the right integration softwares that I can currently use with my softwares if I to manage things and to build, still do the teamwork building, but still being able to connect with some people, but also social distance when it comes to team. And then with the clients, trying to still be able to meet their needs without, being actual hands-on contact. So what are some ways and some strategies that I can be different? And what can I help them to do to create or meet their goals? So what do I need to create if I need to create new products and services for them? So yeah, I'm basically in that area right now. I was actually talking to a marketing consultant on yesterday about, hey, I can't be as much hands-on with their financial planning. So what are some things that I might can create to help them during this time? So yeah,
Right.
it's definitely a challenge, but I mean, I really do feel like this is a good chance of opportunity to get creative, um, and to be able to.
So just to piggyback on what you've said here uh, is calling to mind something like that's become a really big opportunity is if there's people out there who do feel comfortable with technology, who do feel comfortable with remote work or remote ways of hosting events or things like this is an excellent place to remember that you have a special expertise that the majority of people do not actually have access to. And so, like right now, I've been hosting online events for a couple of years now, and all of a sudden, I'm getting calls from people say, "Oh, hey, Ethan, I'll pay you a couple $1,000, like if you could just help us get this event set up."
Mhm.
So it's a great place to look, especially, if somebody listening to a podcast or watching a video online, chances are you're a little bit more tech savvy than somebody who's not, especially with podcasts. I feel that people are a little bit more tech savvy or drawn to listening to them. And just think about, you might not even realize the skills and talents you have that other people haven't had the same access to.
Right. So definitely trying to get into looking and they're doing different things, tech savvy for some, if you're tech savvy, and you never know, you might actually challenge yourself to exceed a new level that you never thought you would during this time because it does require you to be creative.
Yeah, definitely. And also just being that piece of support. There's two ways in which you can support businesses during this time. One is there's going to be those businesses that need to make transitions. So
Mhm.
you can show up and you could say, I'd like to be there to help you make this transition, and come up with ideas and strategies to make their business continue to work. But even more so, um, you when you're starting a business or you're running a business, you want to think about there's people that are doing well during this time. Who are those people and why? So,
Mhm.
for example, on our podcast, we had a guest recently who brought up the fact that he had friends who worked in the craft spirits industry, meaning they make like specialized, gins and things like this. And he said they're making so much money right now because they've transitioned to making hand sanitizer, and it's actually really simple for their operations to do. And the profit margins are high, so they've got a lot of money. And so if you want to look for businesses that may actually already have a good amount of cash flow, but how can you jump in and be a consultant or help them in some way figure out, okay, what are you going to do with this capital now that you have it?
Mhm.
How can you invest in the future? And how can you leverage what you have? For example, for a craft alcohol distillery. So now how can we use this? How can we create a different brand around a whole brand of hand sanitizers or something like this? Or where can we distribute this? How can we market this to a different crowd? So things like that, helping businesses that are doing well do even better is a good strategy when starting projects.
Awesome, awesome. So I guess on this episode we're gonna go through a little exercise. You had me to
Mm-hmm.
fill out a form.
Yeah,
So take us to the the exercise about
yeah,
basically.
for sure.
with the
Uh,
business?
So yeah, this is a form that I have a lot of my coaching clients fill out before we get started, and it just gives me a sense of, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what kind of opportunities, what's their journey, what's going on with them. And so yeah, I had you fill this out before we started chatting, and I can go through the questions. I know maybe um, I mean, I could even screen share if you feel like it's useful, or I can just read through them. What do you think? What do you think's the best way to
It's
go about
completely
this?
up to you. It's
Let's
completely.
do it. Can you make me co-host?
I
Do you know how
can't.
to do that? And
Okay,
then
you
I'll
should be able
just,
to share your screen.
awesome. And then I'll just choose. That's it right there. Okay, yeah. So this is the, you can see this form now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the strategy form that I have people fill out before we do calls. And what I'll do is I'll kind of walk you through it, and we'll just give you a little taste of coaching and guidance and how these answers are useful as you move forward. So the first question that I ask people are, what are the biggest problems you're facing now? What obstacles are you looking to overcome in your projects, professional pursuits, or life in general? And you said the biggest challenge right now is trying to expand the business during a pandemic. And I'll just give people a little bit insight of why I asked this question, because, and you can use this when you're marketing to anybody. Anybody, it doesn't have to be about coaching. So you could send a modified version of this questionnaire, for example, Tiara. You could send this out to your clients, the people that you already work with,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason that it's useful is when you find out the direct answer to what are the problems people are facing with at the moment, it gives you a piece of leverage on how to serve them best. Now, oftentimes we make assumptions as to what people's problems are, or what kind of problems we need to solve for them. Might as well just find it out directly from them, what's going on. So it's almost kind of a meta answer to the same question that you responded to. What's a way that you could work on expanding the business during a pandemic? Might be to reach out to your clients
Mm-hmm.
and ask them, what are their biggest headaches at the moment? And don't assume, somebody could say it's, they don't have a babysitter now, so they're spending more time with their kids, or, somebody could say they have too much free time now, or they're getting out of shape, or whatever. And you want to really make a note on what's present for them, because then what you're providing, you could connect it to that. So you provide what, financial services advice? Is that right? Yeah. So for example, if somebody is telling you that they don't have a babysitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're having difficulty managing their kids, you could sort of you could talk to them about how, like how would having more income have made this a bit easier for you in this particular time, right? How could having more income made it easier for you to manage things with your kid? I don't know. What if maybe if you had a private nanny, for example, as opposed to sending them out to a group babysitter, you could still have that person.
Right.
Wouldn't that be nice? How do you get to that place? Well, you've got to invest, you've got to save, you've got to manage your money. And that's why I'm here to help you, right? So you can see how that's different selling it to them based on what's really present for them, what their problem is, versus sort of saying, hey, don't you want to buy a nice car or go on a vacation? Like, no, I'm not thinking about vacations. I'm just thinking about my kid and
Mm-hmm.
like how I could possibly have managed the situation better. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful in response to that question. Any thoughts on that from you?
Well, that's some good thoughts. Cause like, I really feel like that some people might eventually have to transition to having in-home nannies more and doing hiring, teachers to teach at home, in-home tutorings, because they don't really feel comfortable with sending their children back to school during this time. So yeah, that may be a good thing for me to start saying, hey, well, in order to achieve this, let's go back and look at your finances. Let's see where you can cut back. Let's see where you can save. Um, in what areas is it cheaper for you to get a nanny versus cheaper versus you sending them to daycare?
Mm-hmm.
So those type of things. So that really,
Exactly.
yeah.
And then the key there too is like when you actually reaching out to the people who are in your space, you know, they may have nothing to do with, taking care of kids. They have their own issues. And then when you call them for a follow-up and you say, hey, I just want to give you a little concept on how we can solve these problems, then you're talking about what's very specific to them, whether it has to do with, oh, they don't have enough space in their house, or, whatever the problem of the moment is for them, you're going to frame your services in terms of that. Okay, so the next question I asked is, what part of your work life do you feel most powerful, most helpful to others, most appreciated by others? You said it is when you're working on your podcast. So that's good. I'm glad you feel very powerful right now, or hopefully you do. So I'm glad to share this powerful moment with you. Offering services to your clients, hosting webinars, seminars. Okay, great. So just why do I ask this question to people? It's because a lot of us think that the things that we might be able to make good money at should be also the difficult things, right? Like the things that, I, if I'm going to make, tens of thousands of dollars, it shouldn't only take me a few hours to do, or it shouldn't be super easy or very natural for me to do. It's got to be some arduous thing. And, while hard work is definitely necessary and commitment, I find that people don't give themselves enough credit living into the things that they're actually good at and that they enjoy. And those things, even though they may be easy for you, they're actually often hard for other people.
Right.
So if you feel powerful working on your podcast, then do more podcasting, right? Like keep working on it, and maybe you can be an inspiration for other people making podcasts. When you're offering your services to your clients, focus on the services. But if there's like admin, right, that you don't like, or I'm going to skip to the next question. You said it's the opposite. What part of your work life do you feel out of your element, or like you're wasting time and energy? Marketing and development of new marketing strategies. So if that's the case, we want you to focus on offering your services to your clients, and then find some way to outsource and minimize the time that you need to spend marketing and developing new marketing strategies. Maybe you want to consult on it a little bit, but you need to be in your zone of genius. You need to work on the podcast, you need to offer your service to your clients, and you need to do these webinars and seminars. And anything else that's slowing you down, you need to find ways to outsource this and do it less. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And I'll move on to the next one. What are your goals for the coming months, year, or years? Anything you see as a big dream to achieve? So the main thing is to set up the business to mostly run on its own. Okay, great. And I'll give you a little bit more insight on, even though you don't like to think about the marketing as much, we'll talk about it for a second, why I asked this question from a marketing perspective. So if you ask these questions to your clients, right, and they have a goal or a dream, then you can frame your services in terms of their goals and dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you don't just say generically, oh, you want to go on a vacation, you want to, have a pool in retirement or whatever. You say, what are your goals and dreams? Oh, I always wanted to start my own business, or, some people are going to have their own unique dreams, and you need to align your services in terms of what their specific dream is. And the more you can do that, the more they go, oh, wow, Tiara understands me and I want to work with her, and she's not just trying to sell me a generic package. Have you seen that, like in your relationships with your best clients, that you kind of understand more clearly their specific dreams and goals?
Absolutely. I have a couple of them now that like really are reaching out to me because they're like, now that we develop a relationship with their finances and stuff, and they always had dreams of starting their own businesses or becoming an entrepreneur. So now they want me to walk them through the steps of doing so.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, and that's also just a point for your zone of genius too, is helping those other entrepreneurs and focusing on that part of what you do. So, and in terms of your goal is to set up the business to mostly run on its own. And how far are you along in making that happen?
Um, well, now I kind of got a virtual assistant to help me with the marketing strategy and stuff like that. So get some of that stuff up and running and flowing pretty well. Once I get that up and running pretty well and increasing the clientele, she will also be assisting me with hiring full-time employees. So
Cool.
to help with that, so that way I can just be the CEO and not really have to be hands-on. So we have a plan. Um, we're working on it, but at least I did decide that it's best for me to outsource like my marketing strategies and some like a little bit my admin work to my virtual assistant. That way it can free up some time with me to be creative and create the new products and ideas and just take that and run with it. And she's very, very helpful. She even, if she sees me working on something inside of our management portal, she's like, "Oh, well, I can assist you with that." So it's good to have someone on your team that can help you too as well.
Nice. I'll send you a link afterwards to a service called Acadium. Have you heard of Acadium?
Mm-mm.
It's a service that offers marketing apprentices. I mean,
Okay.
they do marketing, digital stuff, websites. But basically, you pay a $300 flat fee for 3 months worth of work,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't actually get paid to the apprentice. It gets paid to the service, and the apprentice is working for free for the learning opportunity. And you can try to find somebody who is aligned with what you want. Like if you're doing Facebook marketing, they want to do Facebook marketing. If you're developing a website, that's what they want to do. And they're not the most advanced, but some of them are really, really hard workers. And it's a great resource where you can inexpensively start working on practicing your skills to outsource tasks to others. And if in the end, they work about 10 hours a week. And if you do the math, 10 hours a week for 3 months, $300, it's like less than $2.50 an hour.
Yeah.
And again, they're not working for 2 to 50 cents an hour, they're working for free for the experience. Um, but for you as a business owner, it's very affordable.
Mm-hmm.
I'd consider that. Um, okay, so what are some other individuals, organizations, or projects that you aspire to emulate or that you admire? Rihanna and K. Michelle. All right, cool. um, Another explanation, like why do I ask this question? Again, if I'm working with someone, I need to know how to resonate with them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if I'm working with you, I need to know that that Rihanna is somebody who you look up to, that K. Michelle is somebody that you look up to. And I would, if I was working with you as a client, I'm not going to go crazy if it doesn't make sense, but I will a little bit. I'll research these people and try to understand more fully, like why they're inspiring to you, and how we can make your path a path that is similar to theirs, right? And find out more what you like about them and how you can become more like that. So, what's an example for Rihanna of something that she does or has that you aspire to do or have?
Well, one thing I really admire about Rihanna, even though she is a singer, she has multiple businesses now. So now she like has her makeup line and now she has her lingerie line out. So she's not just she's basically exhausting and getting into more different areas that I won't say that surprised me because she's a very, very beautiful person, but it kind of helps boost her image and makes her who she is. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, and a lot of people, a lot of women wants to feel, beautiful and stuff like that. So I felt like she took her image as being an artist and then apply that to something that can probably help other women feel beautiful and by doing the makeup line and by doing her lingerie line, things of that nature. So that's why I kind of look up to Rihanna. I'm like, okay, like she's not just a singer, she also is getting other streams of income from other people, but as well as using her image to help other women feel confident within themselves through maybe her lingerie line or her makeup line.
Okay, great. And so that's really great information. And I bet that the way that she's presenting it is in terms of, like you said, she's talking about feeling beautiful and being beautiful. And it's about your individual beauty. Like
Mhm.
everybody's got their own way of being beautiful. Like you don't have to be like Rihanna per se, to be
Hmm.
beautiful. I will say this, which is an interesting exercise that I give people. When you look up to someone, when you emulate them, just as an exercise, right? It's not like you become them to be, because they're better than you, but to kind of feel a little bit what it takes to be more like them.
Hmm.
Take like a short YouTube video of them giving a speech, or probably not singing if you're not a singer, but like talking
Uh-huh.
or just doing something that you admire. And it doesn't have to be like too long, maybe like a minute or two. Um, even go so far, and this is kind of kooky, but I feel like I've done this myself, and it's pretty interesting. The results you can get. Learn the words that they're saying
Hmm.
and memorize them, and learn the body postures that they have. Like carry yourself the way that they're carrying themselves, and basically do a little exercise in being them. What is it like to move like Rihanna moves?
Hmm.
Not like, dance moves per se, but unless you want to do that, but like moves how she carries herself when she's in front of people, right? And when she's doing the things that you admire that she does, and talk like she talks. Like Rihanna's going to say things. You can say the same things, but you might not even say them the same way. But what if you said them the same way that she says them? And what's interesting about this exercise is it really gets your mind in the place to understand that all of us, even though we're excellent how we are, if we want to change, or we have to want to get to another place, we've got to transform ourselves, right? We've got to become a different person. And what's that like? What does it feel like? Well, how can I best understand what it feels like to be Rihanna in some small way? Let me act like she acts and talk like she talks. And anyways, I would say you can try it if you want, or if listeners want to try it. It's an interesting exercise. I did it when I wanted to become I didn't talk about this because it's kind of off topic at the beginning, but I have a PhD in neuroscience, right? And I was a musician. I studied music. These are all things that are a little bit tangential to the business and coaching things, but these are parts of my life. When I was a musician, I was thinking about becoming a neuroscientist, but it felt really, really odd to me. How am I going to get there?
Hmm.
And I found a video of a very famous scientist, Richard Feynman, of him giving a talk about, a complicated scientific thing. And I did that very exercise. I memorized what he said. I talked like he's like, okay, and so maybe someday I can be like him, giving a lecture to a group of people, explaining something complicated in an understandable way. And what's interesting is 2 years later, after I had, kind of found a kind of kooky way of getting myself into the academia and into science, my PhD advisor, he threw me into a biology classroom, and I was teaching the undergraduates in a Bio 101 lab. And I recorded myself on video just to just to watch myself teaching and see if there was anything I could improve on. And I went back and I watched the video, and I had this really uncanny moment where I was like, well, look, that's me. I'm in front of a bunch of people explaining a really complicated thing. And it's kind of exactly the thing that I had intended from doing that little exercise. And I had even forgot that I had done it. So just to give you a sense of like it might feel funny, but it can be a powerful thing to try. Um, who's the ideal individual or group you can serve with your projects or pursuits? Or let me know if there are a couple types. You said your ideal group that you've been trying to target for small business owners. Yeah, that sounds perfect because you told me that that those are people that you resonated with. And the thing here is that the more you can drill down, are you familiar with the concept of a customer avatar?
I am.
Yeah. So the more you can drill down very specifically into those types of people, the better your business is going to do.
Hmm.
Like they're a business owner, but what's their age? What's their what type of business even, Um, and then me as a coach, it's very useful for me to know, okay, we're going to be working with Tiara to make sure she connects with small business owners. And we're going to be very conscious of the fact that that's our current strategy, and it might shift a little bit. Maybe there are certain type of business, and I'm going to constantly have my eye out for how can we shift your direction so that you're aligning with the best type of clients that you can serve. Any things that you think of right now, um, to like give more details in terms of what clients you work best with? What kind of businesses do the what
Um,
kind of business does your favorite client have?
I have several. I have truck drivers. I have security people that works in security. Um, so it ranges for what I really do. But mostly I had like most of my experience lately has been with truck drivers recently because a lot of people have been trying to self-contract themselves out to be a contractor. So
Mm-hmm.
basically I've been working with that. I also work with hairstylists, barbers. So just people that's really just trying to get out there and get started
Mm-hmm.
too. So I mean it's a lot of genres. I think truck drivers is maybe my favorite one, and then with the hairstylists and the barbers are another one of my favorite ones. But just because I've considered them my favorite because they're just like really so passionate about what they do and what they want. And when we sit down, we make a plan, they implement that plan. So I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, my brother was driving a truck for a while. I think at least for him, and I also have a friend who's a truck driver and also a coach. He's been kind of coaching other truck drivers on how to,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually really difficult to manage your life on the road, and like stay healthy, eat
Right.
healthy food, get exercise of it. So he's kind of that conscious trucker kind of guy that he's helping other truckers. But but yeah, so I think that that makes sense that, and so the few truckers that I've met have all been on the same tip. I'm doing this thing. I want to save some money. I want to get myself in a better position.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about, they're very focused. They're very
Yep.
focused. So yeah, that sounds like a good niche. And so again, if I was coaching you, we would look at that and see, can we expand that in some way? Do you, when's the last time you asked your truck driver clients to refer you to another truck driver?
I had asked them, I know before the pandemic, I might need to reach out and ask them again to start sending me some of their friends that
Okay,
they
cool.
that drive trucks or their own owner operators, different things of that nature. Because yeah, I haven't did that in a while due to the pandemic, but I do need to reach out to them and tell them, hey, can you refer me some more of your friends or anybody that you know that possibly drive trucks or even like beauticians or with my beauticians that I deal with in barbers.
Yeah. And how about testimonials? Have they given you testimonials?
They do have testimonials. I need to follow up with them to see if I can get them to actually do a testimony on my page, my website. But they do have testimonials on, how um, they were able to start their business and I assisted them through that process because most of the ones that I'm mentioning I helped them or assist them in with getting the paperwork done, making sure they're in compliance with the state and local government, the federal government said, so they can be operating correctly. So definitely need to follow up with them.
Ah, that sounds good. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I don't know what kind of system you have, but I recommend like a system where at a certain time, and maybe you could talk with your assistant about it if this makes sense, whether it's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months after working with them, probably like the first point at which you think that people tend to see results of some sort, that they're appreciating, automatically every time with every client you have a message or a sequence you send them that basically says, hey, it's been really great working with you, and I'm trying to expand my business. You're one of my favorite clients, and I would love to have more clients like you specifically. So two favors. One, do you think you could write me up a little quick testimonial? What was your life like before we were working together, and how did it change for the better? And two, just send me the name of, or make a little email connection with two people who you think might work well with me as well, who are like you. But if you do it very systematically, it makes it like you don't have to think about it anymore. Well, it sounds like you're doing a pretty good job of that as well. Um, how are we doing on time? You want to visit this last question?
Yeah, we can visit the last question.
Awesome. What's your current strategy? How are you currently addressing challenges? How much time do you spend? How easy is it for you? And I ask this question again for the people that are potential clients to really drill down to there's probably something that's not working about what they're doing. And so figuring out what they are doing right now, we can have some clues where to look for the places where we can uh, improve the strategy. So right now you said you're invited into a task management software to help you and a virtual assistant to stay on task and communicate better. We are able to see each other's progress. Is actually cut out on wanted time that is spent on trying to figure out what task needs to be completed. Okay, that sounds really good. And in terms of in terms of is there anything you can see about these type of communications that could be improved, or anything you are like concerned that um, like you're missing out on an opportunity with that, or maybe you're wasting a little bit of money or anything like that?
Actually, I mean, I feel like me using a task management system, so me and my virtual assistant can go in there and communicate on one platform is better, because we did have a couple of issues where emails getting looked over, um,
Mm-hmm.
our emails going to spam and I going to the inbox. So on this one particular platform that we use, everything was
Right.
there. Like she would get notified. It would send her an email saying that I had uploaded a task or I responded to her comment and vice versa with me. So that way we can kind of stay on task. I mean, and then I actually, you can there's trial versions out there. So basically using trial versions, trying to see if it works well for me and her.
Mm-hmm.
If not, then we'll try to try something else. But so far, so good.
Okay. All right. That's it sounds like that's a pretty good strategy for you. What task management software is it, like one that's open to the public, or is it
Um,
specific to the virtual
it's
assistant?
open. It's open to the public. I recently got was advised or invited to use Asana. So
Sana.
we're
Okay.
using Asana. I was using Trello, but I kind of like Asana better because like it's just so much more better to me than Trello. That's just my preference.
Cool. Yeah, I think I've worked with a bunch of these different ones. I feel like it's also depends on the task, the sort of like project too.
Yeah.
So I think some projects work
Mhm.
different ones better. I'm using Asana for a project right now too. Yeah, that's really good. So I think that given this question, in terms of moving forward with you, it doesn't seem like there's necessarily a hole in this strategy. It seems like you've got a new strategy that you're really excited about. And so the key here is to say, how can we take the strategy that's working now and optimize it, and take the things that are working and make them even better, and use it as a tool to remember uh, what your overarching goals are. Like, try to expand the business during the pandemic, and set up the business to run on its own. So how can we use this new relationship that you've created with this assistant to focus on those two overarching goals: to expand the business during the pandemic, um, and to make the good business so that it can mostly run on its own. Yeah, so basically that's a little bit of a taste of what a first session with me looks like. It's
Mhm.
me getting to know you and see, what are the things that drive you, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, where are you headed, and yeah. Do you have any questions?
No, it was very thorough and you gave good feedback. So I would definitely recommend my listeners to book a um, coaching session with you because these questions, even though we don't realize what you're looking for when we answer them, because some people they're just like, okay, but I understand how they all connect now um, when it comes to coaching and getting that advice that you need from someone.
Cool.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Ethan, for walking me through your coaching session so our listeners can get an experience of it. So I'm going to share your social media handles so you can tell people how to get in contact with you if they would like to. So, Mr. Ethan, tell us how we can get in contact with you.
Yeah, so you've got the links up there. I think the best way to kind of keep in touch with what I'm up to is to go listen to our podcast. It's something that is geared towards people starting and running businesses. It's called the Run With It podcast. You can go to www.runwithit.fm to start listening to that. And then if you want to check out coaching or you want to contact me individually, I didn't give you my email address, but you can just use my first name, EATHAN, at runwithit.fm, and you'll get in touch with me and we can start talking about setting up a session. And like I said, I don't know if I think I mentioned it. The first two times I meet with someone, it's a no cost meeting because I really need to know you before we get started. And it also needs to be a mutual, a mutually agreeable thing. I need to feel like it's a good fit as well as you do. So yeah, so it's a low investment but high value thing where you can learn a lot if we just have a meeting and get through the first couple and see if we want to take it from there.
Awesome. And if you guys, if you want to get in contact with me, my contact information is, or my phone number is 910-317-0396. You can send me an email at contact@mjfinancial.biz. You can schedule a consultation on my website, www.mjfinancial.biz, and you can find this episode on Anchor, you guys. And you can also find this episode, you guys, on the YouTube channel for M&J Financial Management. Thank you again, Mr. Ethan, for being on the show today. I highly appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, T. Yeah, it's been fun. Great to be here with you.
Well, alrighty, you guys, and we will see you on the next episode of Tips with T.